Good morning. It is Brian. You are on the Art of Startup War, as all investors know, because the only people who are listening to this podcast are investors, are potential investors. As you all know, we are here to share our diligence with you. Now, normally that would be a kind of a boring thing if you're listening to a venture capitalist just giving the diligence of why they invest in the deal. So we try and make it fun and interesting and lively so you can get the personality behind the startups, because I promise you this is a hell of a lot better than listening to a pitch deck and talking to a problem and a solution. I want to get you in under the skin of the founder, the startup, why it started. I want you understanding like what their product fit looks like, what their scalable product fit looks like, what the competition looks like, what the market looks like. And most importantly, you all want unicorns, right? Because that gives you the best return. So I want you to understand what the path to building a unicorn looks like. So that's the show. That's what we're going to hit in the next 25, 30 minutes. So first of all, Williams, thank you for joining us, man. This is
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you very much for having me, Brian. Always good to have a conversation with you.
We got a lot to talk about, right? We're gonna bring truck to the world, or the world to truck, and help them
Awesome.
all understand why we made the investment like that, just based on you. But take us back before we get to like the product market fit and the scale and everything else. Take us back to the problem. Like when you first woke up one morning and you're like, oh my God. I try so hard not to curse on these. It's so natural for me, but I did really well there. So you woke up in the morning, you went, oh my God, this terrible thing is happening within the world of logistics and transport and everything else. And I see it and I'm going to fix it. Bring us to that moment.
Thank you very much, Brian. Just after I finished school, 6 days after I finished, I resumed on a sales role with Microsoft. And right in the middle of that, I pivoted towards brand and marketing communications just about a year and a half after. I did that, launched Nigeria's first fully digital bank, and then the my land manager back then moved me to coordinating brand and marketing logistics for the entire bank. What that means is that it was my responsibility to make sure all of the brand's assets and bank's collaterals moved from the head office down to all of the branches nationwide. The very first 3 weeks were easy. It was one pickup, one drop of location in another state somewhere on an extreme of Nigeria. By the fourth week, I had 60 trips that needed to happen simultaneously.
Wow.
I could not find vehicles to make that move happen. The pricing was ridiculous. Those that loaded left the head office where they loaded from and disappeared for like 3 days. Zero oversight. I could not track them. That was the very first exposure to it. But the pressure on the job, the frustrations on the job wasn't really what led us to start. Towards the middle of 2019, a very good friend of mine, who is now my co-founder at truQ, got a furniture on one end of Lagos, needed to move it to another end. It was supposed to take 2 hours of get a vehicle, pick up, and deliver to my new apartment. It took us 4 days to find a vehicle at the price that works, at the timing that works for us. And that was literally the eureka moment for us. The same problem that we're dealing with on our jobs was right there dealing with us as individuals. And by the time we had follow-up questions from merchants, from individuals, we discovered that the problem was that there was a gap between the demand side, people like us, businesses that need those logistic vehicles, and the supply side, the people that own those vehicles and needed business to service just to keep their vehicles engaged. And that was when we discovered something needed to be done, the gap needed to be bridged, and we followed a very manual, lean, rough approach to bridging that gap. Myself and my co-founder got on a bus, traveled across Lagos, built an Excel database of 86 drivers. And then we created a flyer with a phone number saying, call this number anytime you need to move anything, and we'll get the closest vehicle to your door in an hour or less. So we
Wow.
started receiving calls, looking through the Excel sheets for the closest driver to where the call was coming from, and activating the driver to go do trips. That was how we did our first 100 trips.
Amazing. This
Literally,
was
it
like
was,
hardcore Wizard of Oz. Like you were the dude behind the curtain saying, you will come into Emerald City. But that's how great companies are built, right?
yes.
How great companies are not built are people staying in stealth for 25 years because they're so terrified of someone getting their idea. The way great founders approach this is they say, there's a problem. I'm going to test out this problem today. not in like 4 years' time, and I'm going to see how people are reacting. And they reacted, right? They wanted what you were
yes,
providing.
yes. It was a very beautiful experience. It was eye-opening, and everything we have built off the back of that has been off that understanding, experiencing it personally, how the customer wanted to experience logistics, how the vehicle owners wanted to access demand, and we iterated as we journeyed on. I think out of the first 222 trips that we did in our first year, I was a loader on at least 150 of them.
Wow.
When businesses book loaders and we can't find people, I will join those vehicles, go experience the customer's pain points
So
myself.
you would jump onto the trucks and actually go and
Yes,
follow the journey with the
yes,
customers. Wow.
yes.
And you're traveling
150
around the
of them.
country.
It was beautiful.
I do feel I walk the walk of like all my people, and no matter what it is, but I'm not sure I could jump into a truck and travel around the country doing these things because you wanted to experience, like, you can't solve the problem of logistics unless you walk in the shoes of logistics.
Yes,
And that means you
yes,
got to do the dirty stuff. Like, you got to see what happens with it when it comes off. Who takes it? How do they take it? Who do they hand it to? Where does it get stored? Where does it then get passed to? How long does it stay there? Is that too long? Is it bad for foods that they should be there for that? Like, all these pieces of data are not being collected anywhere because they are qualitative pieces of data, but they are
yes,
absolutely vital to both the end user experience and the provider, the supplier that gets so frustrated that something that was so perfect here is so effed
yes,
up down here. So I love
yes.
that you did that. And then, so how did you market to people? How do they find out about you?
I think at the very first instance, it was a fully social media, WhatsApp status, market to your friends and families kind of marketing. Then as we journeyed on into 2021, what started as a purely B2C play took a slight pivot to being B2C and B2B. We started looking towards B2B e-commerce companies. That was very manual, direct sales, get introductions, search for leads online, be sure that they are a fit, and find someone that knows someone in there and all of that. But right now, we've kind of figured out what works best for us. On the B2C side, we're now driving it through B2B2C partnerships, lock in one B2B2C partnership that gives you 1,000 potential customers. And on the B2B side, we are doing some very strategic digital ads, event activations, cold outreaches. And of course, we've figured out a way to tell the stories of the businesses that we've been servicing for over a year. And now we took the order fulfillment rates from about 60, 65% up until 97% within the space of 3 months.
Wow.
Literally plugging in a more efficient process, the best technology out there right now, and the best customer service possible. And their order fulfillment rates skyrocketed, literally. And when people see those stories, when they see those videos online, we just get random calls at our customer support desk. Hi, my name is so person. I'm the head of supply chain for this company, and I would like to have a conversation. 2 new accounts have closed so far this quarter, major accounts that closed this quarter that literally came from inbounds like that. And it's a beautiful place to be, transitioning from chasing and hunting to having them come look for you. I'm excited, super
Yeah,
excited.
that's glorious. And so you mentioned we a lot. Talk to me about the we. Talk, share with us about the team, how you built the team, who's in the team, the strength of the team, and like the preparedness of the team for what is to come.
One is that I use we a lot because I'm super conscious of the fact that all of what we have achieved so far
Yeah,
would have never been possible if it were just me.
yeah,
That's kind of guaranteed. I met my co-founder on a bus coming back from church on a Sunday. There was a bit of injustice happening on the bus that day, and I stood up to it. That it can't happen. It won't happen, not on my watch. And this young lady was at the back cheering me on. Yes, it's right. Don't let them cheat those people. I'm like, who is this woman? I don't even know you. Why are you supporting me? After all of those chaos on the bus that day, myself and I got talking. We became very good friends for about 2, 3 years before truck even started. Values aligned, ambition. I think I'm ambitious. I thought I was crazily ambitious. Ambition is like 2x of mine. crazy hunger for all of what is possible for her.
Yeah.
And then it was myself and her for the very longest time while we were pushing and growing. Then as the team started expanding, we started finding first friends that knew us from way back, that understood how we could grind and chase anything we set out our mind to do. They've seen the truck journey too. And by the time we needed to hire people for key roles, we just looked at who are the people within our network that would believe in us to give us a discount on what they would usually earn per month and join the team on full-time roles. One of our head of engineering right now resigned in the UK, where he was earning way more in a better economy, to come resume with us full-time in
Beautiful.
Nigeria as our head of engineering. And my friend that used to work with Tech Expert resigned to come lead our partner support team. Super competent people, yes, but invested their expertise out of a place of believing in what we were building, taking way lower pay than the market would pay them to just come contribute their own part in what we've been building. And as we journeyed on, we've been finding super passionate people, hungry people, ambitious people join the team. As we do. Right now, we're a team of about 33
Wow.
across operations, tech, and roads. I think if there's anything that gives me the biggest confidence that truck would win, is the truck stars that we've been able to gather. Some of the best guys I could. It's an absolute pleasure doing truck with them. Every single one of them.
So I love where you're going here with the team. Really, for investors listening, really strong team. 33 people in the team. Very strong management team and C-suite already. And it's one of the very strong things for those of you who are in Africa. You already know this. For those of you who are not quite so au fait with it, it's a huge advantage over the rest of the world. And many times for a pre-seed seed company, you're looking at 2, 3, 4 people. And while in Africa, you can really build up very strong, robust teams that follow passion and they follow purpose. And when they see something that is a higher value than themselves, they follow that, which has been really powerful. And so I really want to understand the competition because the team is beyond reproach. It's strong. You've built what you've built. We're going to go into like revenues and projected revenues in a second, but let's just talk about the traction and let's talk about how you and that actually before the traction, let's talk about the competition and let's talk about like the challenges that come from so many different countries in Africa because especially when you start out in one country, I know the majority of the trips are going to be inside Nigeria, so it's simpler,
Yes.
right? But I'm sure there's also a ton that go beyond borders and they go outside and now you're in a different country and there's all kinds of things that need to be arranged. So speak to us about what you had to compete against and speak to us about maybe the competition which was scary and the competition that was easy. And then talk about like how borders create challenges or opportunities for you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brian. So at the very onset, long before we started, when you think of the logistics space in Africa, the names that will come to mind is Cover 360, or 247, Lorry, Army Truck, and the like. And they've done a phenomenal job solving the logistics inefficiencies across the continent. But one thing we needed to understand was what exactly is it that they are doing so well, and what are those things that they are not doing well that we could build around. In answering that question, we came to understand the logistics space across Africa as though a pyramid. At the top of the pyramid, you have the lorry, the cobble doing heavy duty, long haul, first mile stuff. At the bottom of the pyramid, you have the likes of Go-Kada, Quick, doing bike deliveries, delivering smaller parcels, and all of those stuff. For the experience I had on my job, the experience my co-founder had on her job, the frustrations we had to live through working for our previous employers, and the personal experience that we had was neither in the first mile nor in the last or at the bottom of this pyramid. It was in the middle of the pyramid where mid-sized vehicles are needed for short-haul intracity logistics. And that was literally where we focused our niche on, providing access to as many vehicles as needed for all of the demands that will be created in that bucket and solving all of the inefficiencies that come with doing third-party logistics within that bucket. So Cover 360's customers are not my customers. Go-Kada's customers are not my customers. Neither are my customers theirs. So we were able to really focus on our niche customer base very early on. And that clarity helped us build momentum really early. But by the time you then look deeper into that segment, one thing we knew very clearly was that the supply side was there. While the gap between the demand and the supply side was the fundamental cause of the inefficiency that the segment experiences. But there are a lot of people trying to bridge that gap. There's Render, there's Sandy, there's Loft within that space, trying to provide access to vehicles. And we understood very clearly that our ability to automate that space, it was a lot of manual work that was happening in that space. Our ability to automate that space would be a major competitive advantage. So our very first iteration of our very first MVP of our tech infrastructure was one to connect you in real time to the closest vehicle, pretty much automating the bridging of the gap. Then we started shipping value-added services, solving complementary problems that then make us sort of unbeatable to the guys within the space. You look within that segment right now, and there is no one within the Nigerian market that we are in right now that has the kind of tech infrastructure that we have. We shipped an in-transit inventory management system that reduces 3 hours of work into 5 minutes, reconciling the previous day logistics. We shipped it last quarter, and it is the first of its kind within the segment that we play in. My point is, we've kind of understood that beyond the operational processes, having the best processes, the best customer experience, our tech infrastructure is a major competitive advantage. So right now we walk up to customers and we show them the tech, we show them the processes, and they want to start working with us literally the next month. And they had their partners before, but because the tech automates your work for them, makes it easier, more efficient than whatever it is that the existing partner was doing for them, it's easier for us to start growing ground. You lock in a partnership and you were doing probably 15% of their daily volume before, and within 4 weeks, you go from 15% to doing 80% of their daily volume. Because we are more efficient, our automation is intact, show data and analytics at a level that no one else can deliver. And we are just getting started.
Is that the area you see as the biggest opportunity, that data analytics and monitoring? To be able to make sure that people actually know what's happening with their produce, and how do you see that evolving in the future to become a bigger product? Because I'm guessing that every time, and by the way, okay, I'm going to underline this by just bringing out a point to investors, which I want you all to see. The great entrepreneurs, like, it's hard to build a unicorn. And the ones who get it are the ones that investors can see. They understand their customers the most. What you've heard, probably the most important thing so far, is that not just Williams, but like the whole team are absolutely obsessed with understanding what their customer needs are. That is everything. And it's not just the being on the trucks, it's also being in connection with them. It's also dealing with the customer service department. It's also speaking with them on a daily basis and continually asking them, what's not working elsewhere? What's not working? What are we doing badly? What can we improve? Where does it go in the future? So under the context of this, it creates this wonderful environment of just evolution and innovation. Like, it's just the best. So you've now taken it to the stage where like data integration and data management become almost the most important part of what the customers are going to get from you. How does that evolve forward? Where does this go?
One, before I touch base on where it goes, I want to tell you how it's changed the game for these businesses. So usually they will just load vehicles and have to through phone call, track the driver. Have you completed the delivery and all of that? What our system does is that it takes all of their orders, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, aggregates based on certain variables, proximity of drop-off location, vehicle sizes, item weight, and all of those variables, and then create strips of those aggregated orders, and then assign those strips to drivers. It then takes it a step further by tracking every single item from the moment it leaves the warehouse to the moment the trips are completed. If at stop one, the driver was supposed to deliver 20 units of a product and delivers 15, the system immediately knows that 15 products were delivered here and 5 will be coming back as returns. It tracks the time that the driver left the warehouse, arrived at the warehouse, was loaded, left the warehouse, got to stop one, left stop one, got to stop two, left stop two. And all of what that data help this business do is that they're able to see right there on their system screen all of the red zones that are causing their order fulfillment to be inefficient.
Wow.
And they sit to, and we take it a step further. We don't just let them see the data. I take this business is very personal. I sit with as many business as I can every month to look through their data with them and brainstorm with them. What can we do with this pain point? What can we do with this bottleneck? How can you help us optimize your internal processes to make sure that this thing improves significantly? As we journey on, because we now know every single retailer that any B2B e-commerce company or any merchant that has ever used our partner to be delivering to, we can now ship newer iterations of product that improves the shopping experience of those retailers and the order fulfillment experience of the businesses that are delivering to them. I don't know what form or shape that will take right now, but I know it's a gold mine.
Incredible.
Data for us and the businesses that we service is a game changer.
And you're focusing on the areas that they care about. Like most people are most afraid not of the things they can predict, but of the things that they can't measure. And they just wake up in the morning and an email arrives in and the email is like, I'm going to punch you in the face. And they're like, really? It's 8:30 in the morning. I would really like an easy date. Like that's all people want. They just don't want to be punched in the face at like 8:30 in the morning. And so what you're doing is the evening before you're saying, hey, by the way, just before you go home, these are 3 things that we're going to try and punch you in the face tomorrow morning, but we got you. We just want you to know we got you, okay? You're totally fine. Have a good night. You know what? Have a meal with your girlfriend or boyfriend tonight because you got nothing to worry about tomorrow. Like, that's what human beings want because work has become too complicated with too many logistical variables. And so by breaking down the one thing, which is getting the most precious thing they have in their business from A to Z, like that in itself, taking away the helms, is awesome. So amazing. Okay, so now let's talk about the traction. Team, amazing. Value and vision, incredible. Product fit, fantastic. Scalable product fit. Let's jump in there. Let's talk about the revenue that you started to get at the beginning. Let's talk about how that revenue has grown. And let's talk about where you're going to take this in the future. Because this is what investors really at this stage are saying, Brian, okay, you convinced me on the other areas. Now I just want to see, can the company jump to $100,000 a month in revenue or 200 so we can get to a Series A? And when is that going to happen? And then what about getting to like $300,000, $500,000 a month, and maybe even $1 million a month? Like, just help me understand and convince me there, and then I'm in. Because I know that if you hit these milestones, it is a 100% guarantee that your valuation increases in line with venture valuations, and that you hit a status whereby they will be an awesome multiple in return. So, rubber meets the road. Talk us through it.
So, 2020, when we launched, very manual launch, and like I said earlier, we were able to record 222 trips and about $11,500 in GMV. Out of that, 1,500 was our net. Going into 2022, based on all of the clarity that we got in the first 2021, rather, based on all of the clarity that we had, we 13x all of what we did in 2020. 2,980 trips, about $140,000 in GMV. And it was a major switch from where we used to be to building on the clarity that we have found towards growing our revenue as a business. And so far this year, we have already 5x all of what we did last year as we journeyed on. And this quarter picked up with so much significant push that we think we might just move closer to 10x that we set out to achieve, that we even thought was possible towards the end of last quarter. So right now, at the end of this, as of date, we had already recorded about 18,000 trips already recorded this year, and by the end of the year, we should be sitting somewhere around $800,000-$900,000 in GMV already recorded. And going forward into the rest into next year, as we expand, spread out across Nigeria, servicing businesses with multiple market presence across multiple states, onboarding newer businesses in those spaces, and then creating market footprints in other countries. The goal for us is to move from just operational in Nigeria to having market presence in at least eight African countries by 2025. By next year, we should be eating about 600,000 trips by the end of the year, eating about
Wow.
$10 million by the end of the year. Build on that, going into 2024, record about 1.2 million trips and about $98 million in GMV. Then build on that in 2025, just doubling down, pushing, and chasing what matters the most. The things that the customers care about, the things that they find indispensable. Build that into the tech, build that into the operational processes, build that into the customer service. And we will win, inevitably.
I love your focus, man. You're so obsessed. And it's even though anybody listening to you, like it's not like you're just saying, I don't know, maybe we'll do you're like, uh-uh. 19,000 trips, not 18,500 or 19,200. It's like the numbers are very specific because you know what you
Yes,
need to do and you've planned
yes,
out what you're going to do. Like it's tied into building the unicorn. And this again, for investors listening, this is the most valuable and important part for us. It is like, how do we grow a machine which we know works and prove out that there's a huge market segment that could want this. And some of the great things about Africa, and anybody who listens to this podcast, they know how much I love Africa as a financial opportunity and the
yes,
folks that are over there. And you know, people will say what they'll say, but I can only tell you every entrepreneur that we have invested in Africa has been an absolute dream. And the teams that get built, the effort that goes into unicorns is unparalleled anywhere else in the world. Not in my home country in Ireland and not over here in the US. It is a phenomenal continent to get involved in. And on the kind of the other side of that, the opportunity is even better because in many ways Africa is so advanced. It's so advanced with digital money, it's so advanced with mobile telcos, and then you have logistics because it's such a big monster with so many different countries and so many different systems that logistically the supply chain is unbelievably challenged. It also
yes,
has not had a huge amount of innovation in there. So what does this
yes.
spell? OPPORTUNITY, and in
Opportunity.
big letters. Whoever dominates this market is not looking at a unicorn, they're looking at a decacorn. This is really, really big. The only enemy to success, in my mind, for Williams, is just time. That's all.
Yes,
Like he wants to do everything and time, like this whole 24-hour clock really pisses me off. And I know him too because if we can get domination fast, nobody will come near us.
yes,
That's it. We
yes,
win and we own and we dominate. And we got to get into those other countries really quickly. And we got to make sure that we shore down every single supplier of any goods that's going anywhere and any location that's going to receive those goods and everything in between. So I hear you. So here brings me to my next and second last question. So we know that you have very well thought through every single number that you need to do to be successful in this. Tell me the roadblocks, and I'm going to finish with the last question as the reasons why you're going to be able to do this. But my second last question is tell me the roadblocks, tell me the things that you're afraid of, the things that could be challenges to hitting the numbers that you need to hit going forward, so that investors listening can at least see some of the mitigating circumstances that might not make this like the greatest and easiest thing in the entire world. And then we're going to finish up with I want to know every reason how you're going to implement what you're going to implement to make sure this is a success.
awesome. Thank you very much, Brian. I think coming into 2022, we understood very well that we're not going to run the same way we ran last year and eat the kind of growth that we wanted. What that means is that we needed to step up from being just a platform that connects businesses to vehicles to doing way more than that, solving their complementary problems. And that was literally how we approached the year. And as we journeyed through the year, we pivoted sort of from being just a platform to being an operating system that now starts picking up all of the complications that businesses have with third-party logistics and solving them one after the other till it gets to that point where everything, all the problems you could possibly have with third-party logistics is solved on the platform. So we've built momentum on that clarity that we are now an operating system, not a platform. Now with power, we facilitate cash on delivery, collection, and remittance. Our in-transit inventory management system came off the back of what more can we do to make sure the customer gets a wholesome experience on truck that goes beyond just connecting them to the closest vehicle. The point we are at now is to be able to take, so we are sort of partial 3PL partners to most of the businesses that we service. They have other 3PL partners that they work with. And what that means is that they are only able to automate the trips that they do with truck. And if you really want to help these businesses, help them power and end-to-end automation of their 3PL business, 3PL third-party logistics services or needs, you need to be able to help them figure out a way to automate those other guys that don't have the tech infrastructure or the team to build them. So what we needed to do coming into this quarter was take our driver app and create SaaS potential, SaaS possibilities within that driver app. Then give it to those other smaller logistic companies. So much that by the time we've been able to make that happen, the business we all service can then get on the truck portal, the truck business portal that we created for them, and push all their trips. Not 60% of them that truck does, or 70% of them that truck does. All their trips into the system, and they can trust that their drivers on the driver app that will be able to accept and make all of those trips happen with the best automation possible that don't necessarily have to be truck drivers. That would mean significant results, not just for us as a business, but for the automation of 3PL services that we're trying to really make happen for all of the businesses that we service. The other part to it is that the drivers on the supply side, understanding the dynamics of the African continent, are not the guys with the best smartphone devices in their hands. They are not the best knowledgeable guys. The literacy level different. You can sit 50 people in a room and they would have different levels of literacy levels amongst them. What we've been very intentional with has been user education. And coming into the second half of the year, we started financing devices to as many of the drivers in different batches as possible, get devices into the hands of these drivers, so much that we are then able to leverage that smartphone in their hands to drive the automation that the business needs to deliver. So that literacy level would always be a struggle. It's different in Nigeria. I can guarantee it will be different in Ghana. It will be different in Kenya, different in Algeria, different in Egypt, different in South Africa. But we need to figure out as we scale into every single country how to deal with literacy, fluctuating literacy levels on the supply side. The other side to it is the reality of doing any business in Africa is that policy can come in and be unfavorable to your point, to your business at any time. And coming from my background, both at Microsoft and in the banking space, I understood the place of having friends, having social capital deposits in the rooms that matter, whether you need it or not. Just have people in the corridors of power that can speak for you. So there are people that I've never asked them to do anything about truck from my mouth, but because of the deposit and investment in social capital that I've done over the years, whenever they hear my name in any room, they just stand up and defend me. And I'm able to leverage that social capital, that wealth and investment in social capital to the benefit of the business as we journey on. So all of these things, making friends with the government, driving what truly matters, focusing on different bottlenecks here and there. I think our SaaS play, we were not going to do it until Q4 of next year. We started shipping, we started building it this quarter because it has become super urgent than we thought if we are really able to deliver the kind of automation that we need to deliver to the market going into next year.
I love this. And as everybody can hear here, the challenges are the opportunities. The opportunities are so great that by nailing them properly, there's a monster win. But it's always the iteration to make sure that it's perfect. That is the detail that makes the great entrepreneur. And I think we've already seen from Williams and what they've done so far is that they've proven this over and over and over again with their execution. Can you share your email, please, for everybody who's listening? And then I'll just finish up with some words to investors to point them in the right direction.
My email is Williams with a S, Williams at mytruck.com. Williams at mytruq.com.
Perfect. And you can always contact me, everybody, Brian at expertdojo.com. I'm very happy to share William's details. And look, I bring Williams here, like I said at the beginning, because I believe this is a phenomenal opportunity. I'm not promoting this opportunity to anyone. This is just saying that Expert Dojo invested in this company because we believe it's a phenomenal opportunity. You got to do your own diligence. You got to check it out yourself. I just want to give you the information to get access to companies that you would not normally be able to see and are doing incredible things. We invest in them for a very specific reason. We're very good at this. We only choose the best in our minds and we make sure that we work with them to keep them going forward. So even if you want to ask me a question separately, you always can, okay? Williams, thank you, buddy. Thank you for allowing us to invest in your company. It is an
Thank you very
epic
much.
company. I love what truQ are doing. I love how you're actually looking to expand and you're using data as your weapon to conquer. And I love the fact that we got a chance to partake in what you're doing so far. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. It's always a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure having you in our corner. And I'm super excited about all of the magic that we could create together, building the very infrastructure that will change how everyone experiences third-party logistics across the continent, powering how Africans move Africa. We
Yeah,
will do great
baby.
stuff.